I already know that if you are watching this video, you feel so confused about your relationship with your body, confused about what metabolism is. You've heard all kinds of things on the internet and in blogs about how to speed up your metabolism, how to slow down your metabolism, and so much more. And so my hope by the end of this video is that you feel clarity, you feel a sense of groundedness in knowing what metabolism is, how to speed it up, and the things that slow it down, so that there's less confusion for you and that you can feel better about your body and your relationship to food.
You definitely want to take a listen to this.
Before we dive into the specifics of what metabolism is and do some very serious myth busting, my name is Catherine Metzelaar. I'm a registered dietitian, certified intuitive eating counselor, and I am here to help you create a more peaceful relationship with food and your body. And I am here to help you divest from diet culture. If you're new here, subscribe below. I come out with videos every week just for you. And if you're not new here, welcome back. So part of existing in a dieting culture, which is the culture that we exist in, means that you are constantly inundated with messages about food and about bodies, and more specifically in this case about metabolism. There's so much confusion out there, and if you do a simple Google search, you'll see that there are all kinds of definitions in regards to what metabolism actually is. And this leads people to being super confused about what it is, how it works, how it speeds up, how it slows down. And so if this is you, this is definitely something that you're going to want to watch to the end, because I'm going to talk about specifically some things that you can do to help support your metabolism. Okay, so what exactly is metabolism? How medically do we think about metabolism, and how do I, as a dietitian, talk about metabolism? Metabolism is simply the amount of energy that your body needs to support itself at rest. And by rest, I mean sleeping, laying on the couch, the minimum amount of energy, the minimum amount of calories that you need from food to support your body and all of its energy needs. So when I say to support your body's needs and the energy that it needs to support itself, I'm specifically talking about a couple of things that it needs at its most basic functionality. Those are things like temperature regulation, heart beating, liver and kidney function, all these things that help to support your body just at rest, solely behind the scenes. Now, if we're thinking about anything else that you do during the day, we're gonna need to get more energy from food. So this means if you're not at rest, if you're working out, if you're studying, if you're standing up, walking around, all these things require more energy from food. So metabolism is what is needed to support your body at rest. So now let's talk about how and why this gets so confusing. Part of what happens when you exist in a dieting culture, or what some call a diet culture, is that there's so many myths around how to speed up your metabolism and how to slow down, or how your metabolism slows down. And it makes it really confusing. A lot of times this advice is rooted in dieting. There's an encouragement to cut out foods to speed up your metabolism. There's an encouragement to reduce your overall energy intake via calorie restriction to speed up your metabolism. But here's something that's the most important part of this conversation that is really probably going to blow your mind. That food restriction and elimination of food and food groups actually slows down your metabolism. Let me repeat that. Food restriction in the form of reducing your calorie intake or cutting out foods and food groups slows down your metabolism. I know this is a lot to take in, because it really goes in opposition to probably everything that you've been told about metabolism and how to speed it up. So I'm going to talk about now why that happens. Okay, from a high level, when you are not getting enough food, when you're not getting enough calories overall, and this applies to you no matter what size body you're in, your body makes adjustments to make sure that it can survive. So if you're only taking in a certain amount of energy and the body needs to use that energy for its most basic functionality, remember what metabolism is, then it's gonna slow things down if it's not getting enough energy from food. Think about it. Your body has a certain amount of energy needs to support its most basic functionality. And then anything in addition to that, it needs more energy from food. If you are not getting that, it starts to prioritize things that are absolutely necessary for your own survival and well-being and things that aren't so much. And so what happens in that context is it slows down your heart rate, it slows down digestion, it slows down everything in your body to make sure that it isn't expending any energy that it doesn't need to expend. Which makes sense when you think about it. The body is incredibly wise and knows what to do when it's not getting enough energy from food. Now, this is not to say, for example, when people go on calorically restrictive diets or they cut out foods, that their body doesn't temporarily change and lose weight. And a lot of people attribute that to the speeding up of one's metabolism, but that's actually not what's happening. So essentially, the best way to slow down your metabolism is to go on a diet to start restricting food and food groups. So now let's talk about how to speed up your metabolism. One of the best ways that you can speed up your metabolism is to make sure that you are eating enough and eating consistently. Remember that the body is wise and adaptive, and it makes changes based on how much energy it's getting. So you want to make sure that you're getting overall an adequate amount of energy from food. Remember, food is what gives you energy. I don't like to use the word calories because I think it can be really hard to look at food in that way, but just remember, it is a unit of energy and your body needs energy. So the best way to speed up your metabolism is to make sure that you're getting overall enough energy and that you're not cutting out food or food groups. I know that this information probably feels really counterintuitive and may even bring up some feelings of anger or frustration. And so if this is the case for you, I'd like you to just take a deep breath, take it in, and think about some of the things that I've offered, that when we restrict or when you restrict foods, this actually slows down metabolism. This is an adaptation to make sure that you can survive. And think about it, in early human history, we didn't always have access to food and have access to food consistently. And so our bodies learned how to adapt in those environments, which is really just to slow things down. When things get slowed down, we'll feel kind of lethargic, we'll feel pretty sleepy. We won't have as much energy to do things. Our body really resists. So from a high level, the best way to speed up your metabolism is to eat enough and eat consistently. And the best way to slow down your metabolism is to diet. This is partly why over time, when we continue to restrict foods and diet, most people will gain all the weight back that they have lost and more because of the adaptation that your body does and has to do in order to keep you alive. Remember that the body can't tell the difference between starvation and intentional deprivation. And when we are experiencing and existing in an environment, regardless of whether or not you have access to food, in an environment where food is not accessible and abundant, the body really is wise to that. It starts to say, okay, we got this. We know what to do. We can slow things down. We can make sure that we're only expending energy on things that are totally necessary. And so then what happens? When you finally end up eating enough energy to support your body, the body then makes sure that it's going to protect itself in the future. So if you like this video, click like below, share this with other people, let me know your questions, and I will see you back here next week.